This is a two-hander. Ready?
All right.
Here we go.
The numbers on the scale read over 6,000 ounces. Parker Schnabel had once again shattered his own record, and Chris Doumitt was the man who made sure every flake was counted.
At this table, by design, heavy things will go uphill, like gold, and all the light stuff, dirt, will go downhill. This is the final cleaning stage.
Year after year, he was the master of the gold room, the key to Parker's success. Then suddenly, he was gone. Many people believed the pressure of a 10,000-ounce season was too much. But what many overlooked was a critical confrontation where Chris was forced to choose between his own well-being and Parker's insatiable drive.
You know what? With 2 plants, I could do it, but we're scattered. Bob's this way and Red's that way, and I hate to be whining and complaining, but this is reality. I can't do 3.
A goal too far. To put it mildly, the Klondike has a way of breaking even the strongest people. For Chris Doumitt, a man who had become the very definition of reliability on Gold Rush, season 15 was a perfect storm. You see, this wasn't just another season of hard work, it was an all-out assault on the limits of human endurance, driven by Parker Schnabel's most audacious and, frankly, brutal goal yet. Parker didn't just want to find a lot of gold, he wanted to pull an amount from the ground so massive it sounded like a typo. 10,000 ounces. That's over 600 pounds of pure gold, with a staggering market value of nearly $20 million.
60, 100, 120, 140, 150, 170, 182.35.
To hit a number like that, you can't just work hard, you have to do the impossible. And the crushing weight of that impossibility landed squarely on Chris Doumitt's shoulders. The thing nobody tells you about gold mining is that for all the giant machines and massive earth-moving operations, the entire multi-million-dollar enterprise hinges on the tiny, glittering specks recovered in the final, delicate stage. That last step was Chris's domain, the gold room. Normally, managing the cleanup from 1 or even 2 massive wash plants is a demanding and meticulous job. A single mistake, a moment of carelessness, could mean thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars washed away forever. But for this record-breaking season, Parker wasn't running 1 or 2 plants. In a move that pushed his operation to the edge, he decided to run 3 wash plants at the same time.
Roxanne's been on ground that's not that good in the long cut. Big Red's been just running top gravel in the bridge cut. But Damien's got the Indian River down at Ken and Stewart's very close. He's just about ready to sluice now, so we need to get Bob down there and fired up. It should be around 900 ounces in 3 weeks.
There was Big Red, the reliable workhorse. There was Rock Monster, a beast in its own right. And then there was Lucifer, the massive main plant. 3 separate streams of gold-rich concentrates, all flowing from the frozen ground of the Yukon, and all funneling into the hands of one man. The workload instantly transformed from difficult to physically punishing. Imagine finishing a grueling 12-hour shift, your body aching from the cold and the labor, only to realize your day isn't over. You still have to clean out the sluice boxes from not 1, but 3 massive machines. It's not a simple task of rinsing out some dirt. It is a painstaking, hour-long process of carefully washing, screening, and concentrating the pay dirt to ensure not a single valuable flake of gold gets lost. For Chris, who was already in his 60s at the time, this relentless nonstop grind was more than just a job. It became a physical ordeal. He was the guy who famously never complained, the one who just put his head down and got the work done. But this season, you could see the cracks forming.
I told Parker I would stay on the job until either it's not fun anymore or I can't do it anymore. We're getting very close to the I can't do it anymore.
On screen, the man who was always the calm center of the storm looked exhausted, overwhelmed, and for the first time, defeated. He was drowning in the very success he was helping to create. The pressure became so intense that Chris, for the first time in his long and loyal career with Parker, had to speak up. It was either that or collapse. Something had to give. The most shocking fact is that Parker's operation was stretched so thin that there was no one to help. Every single crew member was essential to feeding the 3 hungry wash plants. Pulling a skilled operator off a dozer or a rock truck, even for a few hours, would slow down the entire operation and put the 10,000-ounce goal at risk. This left Chris in an impossible position. In a moment of quiet desperation, he finally approached Parker and threw out a name: Tatiana Costa. She was one of the best and most versatile equipment operators on the team, but she had zero experience in the delicate, high-stakes art of gold recovery. It was a Hail Mary, a plea for any help he could get. Taking a top operator out of the field was a massive request, one that Parker's other foremen, Mitch and Tyson, were bound to hate. But the alternative was watching Chris, the heart of the gold room, walk away for good.
Well, it's not fun anymore. If I leave,
You're not allowed to retire. We'll take Tatiana.
Tatiana,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you
dude,
so
no
much.
worries.
Yeah.
Parker, for all his relentless drive, knew he couldn't lose Chris. The decision was made. Tatiana would be trained and Chris would finally get some help. But you have to wonder, was it already too little? Too late? The damage was done. The message, whether intended or not, was clear. Parker's ambition for a record-breaking number was more important than the well-being of his most loyal man. The foundation of their partnership had been shaken to its core. The accidental miner. To truly grasp why Chris Doumitt's departure was a seismic event for the Gold Rush universe, you have to understand who he really was to the operation. He wasn't just another guy on the crew, a hired hand with a specific job. For years, he was the secret ingredient to Parker Schnabel's incredible rise, the steady foundation upon which a gold mining empire was built. Here's the most surprising fact of all. Chris Doumitt wasn't even a gold miner to begin with. He stumbled into this chaotic world almost by accident. He started his journey on the show as a carpenter, hired by Todd Hoffman's original, often bumbling crew back in the early seasons. His job was simply to build cabins for the miners. He was a guy with a hammer and a saw, not a gold pan. But one thing led to another, as they often do in the Yukon, and soon enough he found himself knee-deep in the mud and the madness. And it turned out he had a natural talent for it. When he eventually made the pivotal switch over to Parker's fledgling team in Season 4, that's when everything clicked into place. Parker was the young, fiery prodigy with the audacious ideas and raw talent. But Chris was the steady hand, the voice of calm and experience that helped turn those wild ambitions into actual weighable gold. His meticulous, almost obsessive work in the gold room was the final crucial step that helped Parker smash records year after year. Without Chris ensuring that every possible ounce was recovered from the concentrates, Parker's legendary gold totals simply wouldn't exist.
Let's see how much we got here.
20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120.
No way.
140. 185.15.
That's not a bad run.
He wasn't just cleaning gold, he was maximizing profit. He was turning a chaotic, high-risk mining operation into a finely tuned, money-making machine. Every season, as Parker's gold totals climbed from 1,000 ounces to 2,000 to over 6,000, Chris was the man in the background making sure those numbers were real. But what many overlooked is that his value went way beyond the numbers on a scale. Chris was the emotional glue that held the entire high-strung operation together. Gold mining in the Klondike is a pressure cooker. You're dealing with 12 to 16-hour workdays, brutal sub-zero weather, constant and catastrophic equipment breakdowns, and a young boss who demands nothing short of perfection. In that environment, tempers flare, arguments break out, and morale can sink faster than a rock in a sluice box. In that chaos, Chris was the calm in the storm. With his easygoing demeanor, dry wit, and ever-present cigar, he had a unique ability to diffuse tension and keep the crew from turning on each other. When Parker's intensity boiled over, it was often Chris who could bring him back to earth. He was more than a foreman. He was a mentor, a father figure, and a friend to everyone on the crew. Over the years, he evolved into a key decision-maker. Parker came to trust his judgment on everything from the best way to process a certain type of pay dirt to managing crew drama. Chris wasn't just an employee, he was a foundational piece of the entire empire. When Parker set the seemingly impossible goal of running 3 wash plants, it was Chris who was tasked with figuring out the insane logistics of making it work, even as the burden was physically and mentally breaking him.
Everything has to be cleaned in the gold room. I can't do that. I just can't. Why have a third plant if you can't keep it clean?
His departure isn't like losing a good rock truck driver or a skilled mechanic. It's like pulling the cornerstone out of a building. The man who went from being an outsider with zero experience to one of the most respected and indispensable figures in the industry was walking away. The whole structure was now at risk. But to understand why he was pushed so hard, you have to understand the man doing the pushing. A legacy of more. You can't talk about the immense pressure placed on Chris Doumitt without talking about the source of that pressure. Parker Schnabel himself. Parker isn't just a gold miner, he's a phenomenon, a prodigy whose entire life has been a relentless pursuit of more. Born in the mid-90s in the tiny, rugged town of Haines, Alaska, he was practically raised in a gold mine. His grandfather was the legendary John Schnabel, who ran the Big Nugget mine. While other kids were playing video games or learning to ride a bike, Parker was learning to operate bulldozers, excavators, and wash plants. The scent of diesel and the rumble of heavy machinery are in his DNA. He briefly considered going to college to study geology or engineering, but let's be honest, a classroom could never contain his monumental ambition. Instead of taking out student loans, he took his entire college fund and poured it into leasing his own mining operation. At just 16 years old, he took over the family mine from his aging grandfather.
Parker has been extremely successful to accomplish what he's done. I'm proud of it.
Imagine being a teenager and suddenly being responsible for a full-scale operation, telling grown men twice your age what to do. But he wasn't just a bossy kid. He had the knowledge, the instinct, and the ferocious work ethic to back it up. When Gold Rush came calling, the world was introduced to this teenage mining prodigy. But being a TV personality in his hometown wasn't enough. In a move that stunned everyone in the industry, he left the security of his family's operation, went to the Yukon in Canada, leased his own ground from the legendary miner Tony Beats, and started completely from scratch. It was a massive all-or-nothing gamble. It paid off spectacularly. In his very first solo season, he pulled over 1,000 ounces of gold out of the ground, silencing all the doubters. From that moment on, his trajectory was a straight line pointing up. His gold totals grew exponentially each season, leaving his rivals like Todd Hoffman in the dust. He wasn't just mining, he was innovating, constantly pushing for more efficiency, bigger machines, and higher yields. He became a multi-millionaire before he was even 30 years old. But this relentless drive is a double-edged sword. Parker's ambition is insatiable. For him, hitting a record isn't a cause for celebration, it's just a new baseline that has to be shattered the following year. What many people see on the show is the triumph, but what the crew experiences is the unending pressure.
Hate to say it, I mean, I can't change.
This is such a Hoffman move, too. Like, ooh, let's just sluice more gravel. There's gold in it.
It's a decision.
Me off. We've got a lot of work to do. A lot of to throw away. Thanks for cleaning that up, Chris. I know it's a lot of extra work.
Yeah, no problem. At least now we know, yeah?
Yeah.
There is no good enough. This obsession has taken a toll on his personal life as well. His relationship with Australian veterinary nurse Ashley Ewell, who even appeared on the show for a time, fell apart because, in his own words, he couldn't balance his work with the relationship. For Parker, the gold always comes first. This single-minded focus is what led directly to the 10,000-ounce goal. To him, it wasn't an insane, crew-breaking target, it was simply the next logical step, the next mountain to conquer. He is so focused on reaching the summit that he sometimes fails to see the strain on the people he's relying on to get him there. People like Chris, who had given him years of unwavering loyalty and back-breaking work. The decision to run 3 plants wasn't just about getting more gold, it was a statement. It was Parker proving once again that he could do what no one else could. But this time, the cost of that statement was the loyalty of his most trusted man. The truth of why Chris left wasn't just about long hours, it was about the fundamental nature of working for a man who could never be satisfied. So did Chris Doumitt, a man who had faced down frozen ground, mechanical failures, and years of grueling work, really leave the most successful gold mining operation on television just because he was tired? The short answer is no. The real reason is something far more complicated and frankly more human. It wasn't one single event. It wasn't just the 10,000-ounce goal or the overwhelming pressure of running 3 plants. It was the crushing weight of everything combined, a slow burn of exhaustion and a feeling of being taken for granted that finally reached its flashpoint. Let's connect the dots. For years, Chris was the quiet professional, the bedrock of the crew. He helped Parker grow from a promising kid into a gold mining titan. Let's look at the numbers. In Season 5, Parker's crew mined over 2,500 ounces. In Season 7, that number jumped to over 4,300 ounces. By Season 8, they were pulling in over 6,200 ounces of gold. Those numbers don't happen without a master like Chris in the gold room meticulously recovering every last flake. In the end, Chris Doumitt chose a different path. Was Parker's relentless ambition his greatest asset, or a fatal flaw that cost him his most loyal people? Let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more inside stories from the goldfields.